What are your greatest moments in the following categories? Promotion management, photography, and writing.
Management, I think just the idea of bringing a son house. In other words, I knew very little about country blues when I started. Of the three of us who went out to find son, I knew the least about blues. I was really a freelance writer hanging around in the folk community. So the idea of going to look for a lost blues man did appeal to me. But at the time, I was not well versed in blues. I just kind of picked it up as I went along. The fact that I'm now regarded as a person who knows a lot about it is only because I was in it for such a long time.
Awesome.
As far as photography is concerned, I think that probably because I have a lot of work on the great bluesmen from the 60s, John and Son and Skip and Booker and Fred and people like that. What people don't know is that I had a darkroom tray, which is about 2 feet by 1 feet, filled with developed negatives that had been shot and developed and then cut and put the stories into a darkroom tray. And I left it behind at my parents' house when I moved to California, and it was under a roof that had a leak in it. So it filled with water and froze every winter, and then it turned to dust every summer and then refroze again the following winter. So I had, let's say, about 150 rolls of film, probably close to 5,000 negatives. So you take my body of work and add about 5,000 negatives from the 60s to it, and that's like a great sense of loss and stupidity and carelessness on my part. One thing I didn't mention in the book, person, is a player named Magic Sam, who died at the age of 32. That I think Sam was just brilliant. He died in 1969. So if you lay it out, and he had, say, perhaps done an album every other year. So that from 1969 on, if we had a Magic Sam album every other year or so, I think that his that the amount of quality work from Sam would have made him one of the all-time great Chicago bluesmen.
After reading this book, it seems to me that you have done more for the blues than any other man. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I think Chris Strachwitz, that you have to really realize that Chris Strachwitz was a couple of years older than I am. He has an indefatigable curiosity that he's always looking for things to do and the next hill to climb. That Chris Strackwitz's curiosity and his ability to find new things to bring to Hooley is just an amazing thing. That Chris always has another surprise for me. I had great admiration for Chris. I think what I did do is this. I brought a sense of order and organization where there was only confusion and chaos. Whereas each of the record companies was booking their own bluesmen back in the 60s, and I kind of brought an organization to that, and I started the first blues booking agency, and I think that probably is a major accomplishment. It was kind of like all scattered before I came onto the scene. My negatives is at the University of North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
So I hope that someday some people will go in and get it organized and be able to bring some fruitful accomplishments out of that. In other words, through the years, Ole Miss never had any interest at all, zero.
Mm-hmm.
That in all my years living near the campus of University of Mississippi, I was never invited to speak or lecture or have photo exhibits, nothing. That I just lived in Oxford
Mm-hmm.
with people assuming that I had some kind of affiliation with the university when I never did. In other words, I do photo exhibits. I now have them computerized, so I can take a disc with 100 or 150 images on it, and
Uh-huh.
I can tailor it to be more jazz or more folk or something like that. But sure,
Yeah.
I like doing photo exhibits.
Yeah, I watched your one online of Sun House, the one for an hour. I liked that a lot. It was really good.
People erroneously feel that I'm unapproachable,
Uh-huh.
but I think I'm the most approachable person in whatever. I've
Yeah.
always been in the phone book, and
Uh-huh.
anybody wants to come visit me or call me or whatever, I'm
Uh-huh.
totally an accessible person.
Uh-huh.
In other words, I don't feel that I live off of my past accomplishments of decades ago.
Uh-huh.
But I think I try to live in the moment, and
Uh-huh.
if anybody wants me or needs me, I'm trying to be available.
Amazing. Well, God bless you, man. That's just, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Okay.